Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Pico. Today we are going to dive into the Symbiote team. I've invested into them pretty heavily. Symbiotes are my second to highest team after the Black Order, and in this video I want to talk about, was it worth it? Was it worth bringing this team to the power level that I brought them? And I'm going to go into each character, talk a little bit about them, and then we're going to jump into Ultimus 7, difficulty 5, and try to full auto as many nodes as we can. And when we jump into that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the synergy of this team and just what my experiences have been. So, hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Alright, so here we go guys. This is the Symbiote team that I'm sporting. This is a 513,000 team. So to give it a little context, we originally had Symbiote, Spider-Man, Carnage, and Venom as the main trio, the first symbiotes that came into the game. And when they were first released, they were a pretty decent team when used on Alliance War offense. Like, they were matching up to some of the best offense war teams. You could beat Asgardians. It wasn't a first sure to win team, but they did pretty good. And it wasn't until Scream and Anti-Venom were released where they helped kind of cover some of the weaknesses of the team. There are still some weaknesses, but I'll get into that when we start talking about the team when I get to the battles. But just going to really quickly go through my team. Let's start off with Symbiote Spider-Man. You know, he is maxed out on T4s. I plan to take all these characters to tier 15 for Dark Dimension 4. It may not be like that for the first run because they all take these crazy alien spores. I need so many of them. But the main thing I want to point out with this character is check out the red stars on this character. I have 7 red stars. Now, before you think I got really lucky, I didn't pull a 7 red star. I spent gold promotion credits to get him from 6 red star to 7 red star. But it was my mistake because I jumped the gun. I saw in the store, I'm like, you know what? I actually really could use a 7 red star Symbiote Spider-Man. But then once I purchased it, I realized I didn't even have 7 gold stars. So don't do what I did. Don't jump the gun. Don't purchase red stars for a character that you are nowhere close to getting. 200 shards away. They sell 50 shards for $30. There's no way I'm going to spend that much money just to make use of that 7 red star. So it's going to be a long-term game for him. But overall, really happy. He's such a great character. He has so much control. He's a skill-based character. So even as there's power creep implemented in the game for characters, he's still going to be really good because of his skills. Next up, we're going to talk about Carnage. Carnage is really important to the team. His passive is what makes this team go. He's an Energizer character. He is what makes the characters have lots of turn meter when enemies go below low health. So I've maxed out only 2 of his abilities. I never use his special. No one uses special. Very rarely does anyone do that. And then I might upgrade his ultimate just to get extra piercing damage. But once again, it's a 6 turn cooldown. But one thing to note though is that even if some of these characters have really long, like you need 6 charges in order to use his ultimate, because this team takes so much turns really quickly, you actually might be able to get your skills actually a lot quicker than other characters. So Carnage is really good. Let's go check out Scream. Scream is really good. I bought her offer. So once again, we're gonna kind of see if the investment of buying the offer for Scream and Anti-Venom were worth it. I managed to pull 6 red stars. I'm not even taking advantage of that 6 red star yet, but yeah, she's quite squishy. It wasn't until I brought her up to tier 13 or 14 where I really saw her armor and health putting it into play and making her last longer. I might upgrade the passive. Some people have, some people haven't. I think it might be a little bit overkill, but because I'm going so hard on this team, I might be looking into it for the future. And then we have Anti-Venom, and he's just the glue that really put this team together. The team was really lacking a way to cleanse debuffs on the team. So every time it's his turn, he just really cleanses debuffs from the team. Really good, great character. I bought one of his offers, and I upgrade all his abilities. Definitely not disappointed in this person. He's the only symbiote that I have that's only at tier 13. So I think I need 14 more symbiote or alien spores, and I'll be able to have a complete tier 14 symbiote team. And then last but not least, we have Venom. Venom is, some people say he's like the least important symbiote on the team, but I think what really makes him valuable is his passive. So when He's at 95% health when his turn comes around after he heals. He'll give defense up for 2 turns to the whole team. And that's really, really important because, like, once that defense up is applied, the team is pretty safe. Then that's when the snowball just keeps getting traction, and it just has this crazy snowball effect. So that's the entire team. And yeah, I mean, before we get started, I'll just say, yeah, the symbiotes were worth it. They were a great investment. I mean, once I get Anti-Venom complete, it's going to feel really great having this team, help me with Ultimus 7. But I'll get into all that right now. I want to show you how well this team does in Ultimus 7 difficulty 5 on full auto. And I'm in the far lane 8, far right lane here. And if you want to see the 60% mark that I would think a lot of alliances get to, at least for the end game, would be right around here, before the 3rd boss node. And that's like kind of where the 60% mark is. You can arguably get to that point just fine on full auto. Then after that, it gets a little tricky for those nodes getting to Ultimus. But yeah, I have some thoughts about the team as a whole. But let's just go ahead and get into it and let the game run in the background. And win or lose, it'll just be interesting to see how well this team does in full auto. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm putting on 3x speed, just so you can kind of just quickly see everything, how it goes. All right, cool. So one thing, let's see what to talk about this team. So, all right, 3x speed. So starting off, so this node is really easy. Nothing I do will matter. But that's the thing, though. That's the one I want to highlight. Typically, when you play any other team in Ultimus 7 raids, if I were to use a hybrid team, which I was doing before, originally I'd be using Ebony Maw, Thanos, Ultron, Minerva, and Black Bolt. So when you use another team like that, there's a series of their skill. There's a series of the skills that you need to use in exact sequence. You need to make sure you have all the certain skills ready for the next fight. But that's not the case with this team. If I were to manually play this team, it's nice to be able to set up the skills a little bit, and then it doesn't matter who you target too much though. Because all the skills, I'm gaining so much turn meter from this team so that I can make mistakes, and you can still turn out pretty okay. But yeah, so that's what I want to highlight for this team. You can misplay with this team, and you can still be okay for the current fight and for the next fight. That might be a little bit different case for the future harder nodes in this raid, but so that's a little perk for them. Okay, cool. First node's pretty good. Second node's pretty easy. I think one thing about the second node I will highlight is a trend I'm seeing for at least this lane 8 node is that, and I'll talk about the shortcomings of this team. Actually, no, this team's fine. I'll say this for the next node. Second thing I want to highlight about this team is that and this is something that no other team does that you'll bring into Ultimus 7, which makes them such a great raid team, is that their turn meter manipulation will carry over despite what characters are on the field. So let's say there's 5 characters on the team. There's a set amount of characters where if you kill, let's say 3 of them, then the next wave will come in. And it's always like that for any team you use, any game mode, or at least for the raids. And the benefit of the symbiotes is that because of Carnage's passive, where he gives you turn meter for when the enemies get to low health, you definitely can get in a scenario where typically if there's 3 enemies left on the field, the next wave will drop in. But thanks to Carnage's turn meter, he's going to make it so that your characters will go so fast that you can clear all the characters on the field before the next wave comes in, and that makes it so much easier when it comes down to you beating a node and making sure that you're hurting the enemies as much as you can before the next wave comes in. So that's something that no other team can do. Well, unless there's other characters that have crazy, insane turn manipulation, but that's not the case. When I was using my hybrid team, yeah, you would never see that. You would kill all the enemies, and then the next wave would drop in, and then you would have to anticipate that and prepare your skills. There's one node where Magneto drops in, and I have to make sure I focus him really hard. But if I'm using symbiotes, I can definitely, defeat the previous wave really, really fast, and then put myself in a really good position to take on the next wave coming in. So that's what I like about this team. I think Miles is really challenging. I really hate it when he goes into stealth. You really want to try to use Scream to knock him out with her basic and his special. And what you saw, that's kind of not ideal. Like, ideally, Symbiote Spider-Man won't use his ultimate so that it's ready for the next fight. But once again, this is just a test to see how well this team does on full auto. And because, win or lose, I just want to show you what a team that's 513,000 can do. Now, so this is what I wanted to highlight. The shortcoming of this team is that they need defense up. And if they don't have defense up, they have a window where really fast characters can hurt them. And then even though you have Anti-Venom having a special where you can revive someone, there might be a scenario where Anti-Venom, because I'm playing on full auto, doesn't have his special ready. So he's not going to be able to revive a fallen ally. And when it comes to this, I always like targeting Venom and then putting on full auto. But Carnage will act fast. Daredevil is going to act fast. So there's some times that, there you go. So Symbiote Spider-Man died. There might be a chance I might lose this, which is kind of shameful because this is only the first boss node. But I'm either going to lose this node or I'm going to come back just because now the ball's rolling on this kind of snowball effect. But thankfully, we saw the power of Anti-Venom. He was able to get his energy back and revive Symbiote Spider-Man. And that's the thing. And there he goes. He lost again. So that's the thing, though. Like, if people are focused like this, the symbiotes can't, they're great on full auto, but you do have some really horrible RNG where you might lose someone. And it's going to take a long time for this team to get back up and running. Because now, even though I have the turn meter, I don't have the passive healing that Symbiote Spider-Man brings to the team when you apply a negative effect. So it's going to be really, really hard for me to come back from this, but it's definitely possible. And I think the first boss node and the third boss node are challenging. The second boss node is not that hard. Scream went down. So, like I said, like if regardless what happens with this node, I just want to show you what the full auto, capability of this team is, because if you are investing in symbiotes or you're thinking about it, or maybe you have them but you're looking into, upgrading them further, I want to show you what it's like to full auto. I think I've seen a couple content creators do something similar to this where they do put the team on full auto on difficulty 5, and yeah, they've had some mixed results. But this shows what it's like when things don't go your way. This is showing a weakness that the team has, which is basically they take a while to ramp up. And I was not able to ramp up fast enough to get defense up on everyone because I started this node where Carnage and Daredevil both got their hits in, and they're faster than my team. They're faster than Venom. So I lost this fight, which is kind of shameful, but once again, it's a good, accurate display of how this team is. I don't typically do this. Like, once my team loses, I would never revive them, but just to show you kind of some more gameplay, I'm going to go ahead and revive them. And once again, hopefully we get through this node, which we will, but I want to be able to show you how further they can get into this node overall. So yeah, definitely that's what kind of makes them not that great, is that it takes some time to ramp up. So then let's talk about the different types of auto gameplay. So in my mind, I view things, what I'm doing right now is full auto. This is ideally the best case scenario because I don't have to touch them, I don't have to doing with them, but I have the least control. So there's full auto, and then let's say you have semi-auto gameplay where you put on full auto, but then I'm clicking the targets around. Like, while it's playing, I can actually tap on different characters, and my characters will focus on them. So that's actually pretty good, though, because, I can kind of control, who's going. Like, if I know that Symbiote Spider-Man is using his ult, I wouldn't target a character that's about to die. And another type of semi-auto is more like you manually control the game in the beginning, which is actually ideal. It's what I do the most. I will manually control the gameplay until Venom is able to get his turn, and he gets his passive able to apply defense up. and then I'll put the game on full auto, and I trust that the game is able to kind of put myself in a good position where I'm going to like stop the gameplay toward the end and manually use all the basics for the characters to get myself ready for the next node. And then there's just the last one, which takes full manual gameplay, which is what I would do probably for the latter nodes. Okay, so let's keep going, showing off some more gameplay. So yeah, so there's 4 stages of full auto. Most of the times I try to play on full auto, but then when I'm actually trying to get really, really far into lane and not have my characters die, then that's when I'm going to do the method where I manually will play all the actions out until I feel like they're in a good place with defense up and they're really good in their health, and then I'll put on full auto. And then as there's maybe about 4 or 3 enemies left, I'll switch over, I'll put into manual drive, and I'll just use their basic. And then that will ensure that by the next node, I'll be able to have all my skills ready for the next node and just have the most amount of control possible to be able to get them as far as I can. But right now, our alliance isn't going to Ultimus node, the final node, every day. So it's more just like, if I know we're doing a full 100% run, that's when I'll manually play. And one interesting thing though is that when I was building up this team in the beginning, maybe when like Scream and Anti-Venom were only like tier 11, I had some problems bringing up this team's damage. There were a couple times where I timed out, and that was a little bit problematic though, because like you're investing in a team so much that you don't want to time out. Like that's kind of a horrible way to waste energy for such a good team. So that's why like I felt it was a lot faster to put this team on auto to kind of speed through things faster. But thing is, once I got Scream closer to tier 12, 13, 14, her damage went up really high. It helps that I have really good red stars on these characters. And even by getting Anti-Venom up higher too, he also was able to get more damage out. So that's pretty good. And I guess I can just talk about the ISO 8s that I chose for this team. So Symbiote Spider-Man is a raider. Actually, I'll go ahead and spend this. Symbiote Spider-Man is a raider. All his attacks do AoE damage. So that's good for playing vulnerable on him. Carnage, I chose him as a striker. And when I start this node, I like to target Shield Trooper and then let them run on full auto. For Carnage, I chose him as a skirmisher because I think this probably helps more if I'm using him in Arena or Alliance War, where he's the first one to take his turn on this team. So I want to make sure that he puts that vulnerable on the enemy, and the rest of the team will be able to take advantage of that and really do more damage to the enemy. And even though Scream and Venom has a way to clear buffs on the enemy with their basic and Scream special, then I have Carnage as a skirmisher. He could do the same thing, right? So if the enemy has a vulnerable stack on them, his basic or any of his attacks will be able to clear a buff on them. And then we have Scream. I chose Scream as a raider. Now a lot of people do things a little bit different with Scream. Some people do striker, some people do raider. But because she has AoE on all her attacks, I really want to put raider on her. And she does a lot of damage, especially since I have a high red star on her. And some people like actually having the vulnerable ability stacked on the enemies as long as possible, because when that vulnerable ability or vulnerable status is on the enemy, they take 10% incoming damage from anyone. So there is a benefit to not clearing that vulnerability stack on the enemy and just leaving that up. So sometimes having more raiders or people to apply vulnerability is better than having someone as a striker to clear it. And then let's see who else I'm going to talk about. The Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom, I decided to go with striker. So his basic is really, really strong. It applies bleed on his basic. He also clears buffs on the enemy team. So when he takes another turn, he'll be able to clear more buffs. Actually, no, sorry. With him, I think he just applies the bleed effect, but he does. There's a lot of status effects going out for him. And then similar to Venom, Venom's also my second strike on the team, And Venom's great though. He'll be actually clearing more buffs on the enemy team with his basic. So I think that's a nice, well-rounded amount of ISO 8s on the team. Two raiders, two strikers, and a skirmisher. Some people use full healer on the ISOs for this team. I didn't do that at first because I was having issues with this team and basically getting through all the nodes. Or timing out, right? I was timing out, so I didn't want to put a healer. I wanted as much damage as possible. And if you think about it, there's already so much healing on this team. You have Symbiote Spider-Man applying passive healing when one of my teammates applies a negative debuff on the negative status effect on the enemy team. I have Carnage applying health to himself whenever enemies go down low health and everything. I have Venom healing himself on his passive per turn. I have Anti-Venom giving active healing to one of my allies on his basic attack with the lowest health. And I have Scream doing passive healing whenever we kill an enemy on the field. So there's already so much healing. And I haven't even upgraded Scream's passive. If I upgrade that further, I'll be getting 5% more healing. So yeah, there's so much healing. I just figured this team needs more damage. And the benefit of investing in more offensive-related ISO 8 is that it'll help synergize better with Carnage's passive, because by me making sure the team does more damage, I'm able to bring the enemy's health down lower, which is going to activate that extra turn meter for my team. So there is great value in having more offense-related ISO 8s for this team, especially when you're going against Black Order in Arena or Alliance War. It's better if the team has a more balanced mix of Skirmisher, Raider, and Striker. If you were to go all healer, you probably wouldn't have enough damage or control in order to take out the team. So yeah, we're wrapping it up here. This is the second boss node. This is I'd say where they comfortably can full auto content pretty well, except for their first boss node. But once again, it's just showing that there's a little bit of RNG with this team and how they do. But yeah, so this is where they are. I'm not going to show you any further in this node, in this raid, how far they can get to. But, this is close to the 60% mark. So knowing that I can almost full auto this team up until the 60% mark is so great. It saves me so much time. Ultimus 7 typically takes 3 to 4-ish minutes for every node. So when you add up all that time for every day, it gets really, really tiring. So it's nice when I could just put this team mostly on full auto, step away from my phone, do something else, come back and just manually do a couple actions at the end to prepare my energy. It's so great. So I really highly recommend you invest in the Symbiotes. You will not regret it. They're great in Ultimus 7. There's some nodes you can use them in the Greek raids. I use them in Alliance War defense, and I used them 3 times so far on defense, and every single time the enemy is forced to use Black Order. So they actually do a decent job on Alliance War defense, or you can use them in offense and take out Asgardians. But I think that's it for now. It was really cool to show you where this team stands, and this team is only going to get better with more stats once you put Gear 15 into them. So I hope you guys are doing great with your Symbiote team. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, if you can, it helps if you can subscribe to my channel, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think of the Symbiotes. And as always, thanks for watching. This is Pio Pico signing out. I'll see y'all next time.